Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Susan, Jenica, Esupat, Stephen. Thank you so much for joining. And I'd like to appreciate you for taking your time to attend this webinar today. And we believe that you are going to learn a lot from our presenter today. And without further ado, we will start the webinar. And I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Joyce Shikuku, and I'm the East Africa Regional Coordinator, and I will be your moderator today. And today we are very fortunate to have our very own presenter, Mr. Val Okafo from Nigeria. Val is a certified human capital development expert and one of the Africa's most recognized and youth development professionals, and he has over 10 years of hands-on experience helping young people like you to grow, lead, and make real impact. Mr. Val is passionate about equipping Africa's next generation of leaders with the tools, mindset, and skills needed to build strong NGOs, community-based organizations, and sustainable social enterprise. His focus is turning bold ideas into real situations and improve lives. Additionally, he is the CEO of Val Okafo Company. He leads high-impact leadership and entrepreneurship trainings programs that help young change makers step confidently into roles of influence and innovation. With that, I would like to allow Mr. Val to take us through this session. Welcome, Val.
Okay, thank you so much, Joy Shikuku from Kenya, I guess.
You pronounced it very well.
Oh, really? I have a friend who is based in Kenya. His name is Robert Olinga. I
Uh-huh.
think so. So, each time we sit in meetings or we have a conference, yeah, I just look forward to hearing Herbert speak because of I enjoy the accent. It's so beautiful. So, Joyce, thank you for welcoming me. Thank you for welcoming me. And I just want to say a very big thank you to Success and everybody on the team. Thank you guys for the beautiful work that you're doing. And I mean, in extension, I want to say a very big thank you to Wells Mountain Initiative. I took time to go through the website, the social media pages, and I saw the very beautiful work that this organization is doing, particularly for young people on granting access to education. I know that education is critical to human development. Education is critical to anything that we're trying to build. A great leader once said, okay, guys, I've started, okay, please just pay attention and follow me. So a great leader once said that in the future of Africa will not rest under the feet of its people, but it's going to rest between the ears of its people. Let me help you to understand. What he was trying to say is that the wealth of Africa, the prosperity of Africa will not depend on what is in the ground, like oil, like gold, like silver, and all the mineral resources. No, it said that the future of Africa will depend heavily on what lies in between their ears. That's your brain. He was trying to talk about education. So, I mean, that is me saying a very big thank you to WMI for the good work that they are doing. Okay, so if you're in the house and you can hear me and see me clearly, please put in the chat box. I can see you, I can hear you. I want to interact with you. Let me read from you from the chat. Okay. Uh, and maybe you could add where you're joining us from. I'm joining you from Abuja, Nigeria. Abuja is the federal capital territory of Nigeria. So I'd like to know where you're joining me. I hope I can read all the comments, or maybe Joyce can help me to just, highlight them. Susan Otieno, I can see you joining from Kenya. Great. Susan, thank you for joining. Ahmad is joining from Nigeria. Hey, from Sokoto. Nice. Haruna is joining from Benin City. Wow, amazing. Amazing. I think I have my Nigerian brethren here. Ekoha is joining from Jos. Whoa, Ekoha, Michael. I grew up in Jos. I grew up in Jos myself before I moved to Abuja in 2023. It's a beautiful city. Beautiful city. It's all right. Okay. Basikoro is joining from Zimbabwe. Nice to have you here. So let's just dive into what we have today. Thank you all for joining. I can see from the chat. Yeah, let's see how much we can cover. I wouldn't like to waste too much time so that I can get questions. So let's run through what we have today. I believe you can see my screen, the screen that has been shared from the technical support team. So today we are talking about the guiding theory of change. The guiding theory of change, and we are focusing on community-based organizations and non-governmental organization. And in extension, we're going to be looking at different angles to this intervention systems. Okay. So if you could take us back, I'd like to talk a little about the Val Okafor Company, just like Joyce had introduced me. My name is Val Okafor. I am the founder and CEO of the Val Okafor Company. So our organization advances leadership excellence and human capital development. We believe that Africa's prosperity and progress will be driven by the innovation of our young people. And so we invest in educating them, in uh, giving them opportunities to succeed, whether it's in entrepreneurship, education, or employment. So we have different types of leadership programs, performance improvement programs, different kinds of trainings that catalyze the potential and growth of the Africa's young men and women. And over 5 years, we've been able to impact about 100,000 of them, and they are all doing amazingly well, you know. So today, I'm really honored to be in your midst, to talk about the theory of change and how we can, domesticate it to solve problems in our society. I like to be interacting with what's happening in the chats. Unfortunately, I cannot read everything, but whatever stand up for you, please put it in the chat. However you feel excited, you're getting it. Please put it in the chat. I would like to interact with you. Thank you, everyone. Now, I like to give you a background. It may not be on my screen, but it will just help you to understand why we do what we do. I'm talking about human beings in general, why human beings are different from every other creature, say, animals or any other thing, why human beings are special. I'm going to tell you. I've always had the opportunity to share this when I have the privilege to speak across platform. Why are human beings special? Okay. And what makes us different from every other creature God has made. The truth of the matter is, in the next 100 years, the lion will never shave. Did you get that? In the next 100 years, the lion will never shave its beards. You see, the giraffe will never build duplexes, houses, construct schools or roads. A time will never come when the chimpanzee will say, "Oh, I want to go and open an account where I'll put my money in." It's never going to happen. They don't have the rationale, they don't have the mindset to think in that manner. But human beings, we can shave our hair, when it's getting bushy. For the ladies, they will go and either plait their hair or they buy wig to cover it up, or they do something to beautify themselves. Yeah. We'll build houses, we'll open accounts, we'll save money. I tell you why. It's innate in human to uplift, first of all, their immediate environment and the environment around them. It is innate for human beings to uplift their environment and the environment around them. And so that is why They are building houses. That is why they are making airplanes. That is why they are making the cell phones or the smartphones. That is why they are making the laptops. That's why they're making the biro, the jotter, the lights, so that life will be easy. Man has always, from time immemorial, from history, questioned his environment. And by questioning his environment, he's looking for loopholes. He look for loopholes, look for gaps, and then create solution to fill in those gaps. That is man for you. And so I will humorously say, if a time comes in your life when you are no longer thinking about uplifting your environment or making your environment better than you met it, or empowering a world beyond the one you own, simply take a name from the animal kingdom. So instead of saying my name is Joyce, just say I am Joyce Giraffe Shikuku or Joyce Chimpanzee because animals cannot think in that direction. What makes us truly human, and you may need to write this down, what makes us human is our ability to uplift our environment, is our ability to empower a world beyond the one we own. Yeah. Empower a world beyond the one we own, of our environment, make our environment better than we met it. That is what makes us truly human. So you have not started living until you can rise above the narrow confines of your individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of humanity. End of quote. This quote was made by Martin Luther King Jr. So, ladies and gentlemen, listening to me today, as we talk about the guiding theory of change, I need you to understand that it has always been man's desire to solve problems. It has always been man's desire to question his environment and provide solution blueprints that will speak solution to those gaps, to the problems that are in existence, to the difficulties and the challenges that always stare at us in our faces. So if you look at my screen, it says many NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and community-based organizations across Africa and beyond are doing amazing work. This is in response, like I said, to the challenges. This is in response to the problems that exist in our society because it's in the nature of man to always uplift his environment, because it's in the nature of man to always question his environment and to think of ways to make life easy and make life easy for himself and the people around him. He begins to design. He begins to create solutions. He begins, whether it's a product or it's a service, he begins to make this come to pass. Now, let's continue running trainings, just like we are doing today, providing relief, empowering women and girls, organizing campaigns, mentoring youth, planting trees, as the case may be. Yet, there, despite activity, despite all of this, one question often lingers. Are we truly solving root problems or just treating symptoms? I'll help you to understand this. Now, it's not enough to question your environment and to provide solution to the problem in that society. It's not enough to question it and to think of ways. You need to ask yourself, am I truly solving the real problem? Or am I just treating symptoms? So in community development, there's something called real need and felt needs. Real need and felt need. Now, the real needs are the original problem, the foundational problems that bedevils a particular organization or society. Felt needs are just superficial problems, superficial problems, not the foundational problem. I'm going to give you an example. So you find yourself in a community and then you're like, this community needs school, but that is not their problem. School is important, education is important, but at that particular point in time, it may not be the pressing need. So when you build a school, you have just helped them to solve their felt need. But the real need could be water. They don't have water. And so after building your school, nobody goes to the school because you failed to carry out disability studies, you failed to carry out surveys to be able to ascertain the particular problem in that society. So what you've done is very good, no doubt. You've done excellently well, but you have not been able to treat the problem foundationally. You've just been able to solve the symptoms. And when you solve symptoms, you've not really treated the illness. The illness will come back, if not double, So this is why the theory of change is very important, so that when we solve problems, it's going to be sustainable. And now think of the theory of change as a GPS or a guiding map. Without it, impact is unclear. All right. So the theory of change acts like the GPS. You know what the GPS is? Every Uber driver, every Bolt driver, or most cab drivers, they have GPS to help them navigate the environment. And even though they've not been there before, the GPS will guide them. Okay, the GPS will help them move from one point to another point without missing their way. So the theory of change is a framework that helps social impact makers who may found CBO or NGO, or who might have founded a CBO or an NGO on how to actually solve problems and make it sustainable. I believe at this point this is very clear. Okay, so if we're on the same page, we can go to the very next slide so that we can deepen uh, the learning. Okay, so Joyce, could we bring up the chat? I'd like to see what's happening in there. Please, if this made sense to you so far, put in the chat so that we continue our conversation. All right. I don't want to believe that I'm speaking to myself. I believe I'm speaking to us. So please put in the chat so that I can follow everyone. If this is sounding great, it is sounding good already. Perfect,
Yeah,
Precious,
taking
perfect. Thank you, Precious. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. All right. Uh, a theory of change, many school of thought have postulated about the theory of change, many school of thought, but the one that we are working with, the one that stands out and is popular, is that of Carol Weiss, as postulated in 1995, which is what we're looking at today. So a theory of change is a conceptual framework that explains how and why a desired change is expected to happen in a specific context. It connects the dots between inputs. Okay, so inputs are what we do, the activities we carry out. Output just has to do with immediate results. Outcomes has to do with the medium-term changes in the lives of the people or the systems or behavior. And then the impact has to do with the long-term transformation. Okay, so let me help you to understand this. So the theory of change just helps you. It's a framework. It's like a skeleton. Our skeleton is simply like a framework upon which the body rests. What gives our body shape is simply because of the skeleton we have inside of us. So our nose positioned properly, our mouth, our ears, our eyes, our head, every part of our body positioned very well because we have a framework inside of what we have a skeleton. So see the theory of change as that skeleton that provides a framework upon which you carry out your activities. So one of the major components of this framework is your input, what you do, okay? What we do. Remember, I always tie it back to the foundation. Man has always desired to solve problems. So we're going to take poor access to education as one of the problems, maybe climate action, illegal migration, gender inequity, as the case may be. So we have lots of problems in our society. So we're going to just pick one. So we are picking lack of access to quality education as a problem. Now you are coming in using the TOC, the theory of change, to be able to create an intervention, create a program a program rather that will help you to solve the problem, then you want to look at your input. Input is what you do. All right. So what is your approach? What is your intervention strategy? Do you want to be offering mentorship? Do you want to be offering trainings? Do you want to be offering coaching programs? Maybe not in the four walls of a classroom. Maybe it could just be a little gathering, and the kids come from different parts of the community and they gather somewhere, and then you are teaching them what they need to learn. All right. Things that their teachers may not teach them. You're teaching them innovative thinking. You're teaching them design thinking. You're teaching them critical thinking. You're teaching them transformational leadership. You're teaching them public speaking. These are some of the things that they may not learn in their various classrooms, but you have been able to design a program that will help them to improve and equip themselves to be able to match up with their counterparts in Europe, in America, and anywhere else in the world. So that's your input, okay? Because you've been able to design a program and you're giving yourself to it. Outputs, immediate results. So after the coaching, mentoring, or training, what are the immediate results that we're going to see? Okay. Now, of course, definitely some of these kids or teenagers will begin to learn how to speak confidently. They will understand that education is not just about learning physics, chemistry, or mathematics. Education also is about relationship building, is also about connecting with other people, is also about cultural intelligence, learning the culture of other people, learning emotional intelligence, learning social intelligence. All of this is education. So they're not just passing the test of academics, they are also passing the test of life, which is through education. True education is where man can question his environment to be able to determine loopholes within that environment, creating solutions with the skills and the talents they have to be able to solve those problems. That is education. So, but sometimes we focus on academic excellence, which in itself is not bad. But to be a well-balanced leader, you must be able to educate yourself. So when you pass the test of academics, you can speak good English, you can pass your physics and chemistry, but you have a terrible attitude. You don't know how to relate with people. You don't have emotional intelligence. You don't understand the temperaments of people. You have failed the test of life. Okay, so I just said that in addition to help you understand that education is deeper than succeeding academically. All right, so the output that we are seeing in the lives of these young people is the ability to now speak confidently, is the understanding that I need to graduate not just in learning, but I also need to graduate in character. They've been able to understand that. Why? Because someone somewhere designed a program that spoke to that problem, that spoke to that challenge. That's output. The outcome will now be the medium term changes in the lives of systems. So this is not just a 1 day thing. This is not just a 2 days thing. This is like not just a 1 month thing, but for a very long time, they've been able to absorb the principles. They've been able to absorb the attributes that you have been able to teach. And so whether you are there or not, they will live by the principles that you provide. Okay. Then, of course, impact. Impact is long-term transformation. Long-term transformation, even when they are 50, 60, 70 years, they will never forget the impact that was created on them uh, by Mr. Smith, by Miss Joy, by Joshua, or anybody at all, of the program that transformed their lives. So for 50 years, they're still making reference to that intervention, to that encounter that they had with you. All right. So you see, the theory of change presents a framework for all of us. So what will be input right now? What do I need to do in response to this particular problem? Is it poor access to education? Is it gender inequity? Is it illegal migration? Is it climate action? Is it youth unemployment? Is it poverty? Whatever be the social problem, remember that social problem is a problem that affects a significant number of people. That's what qualifies it to be called a social problem. So what social problem do I want to solve? Okay. So that's the input, and then you follow the framework till you get to impact with lifelong transformation. All right. So at this point, please put in the chat if this is making sense. Again, let me know. Put in the chat. Are you getting knowledge? Is it making sense to you? What's your feedback? If we decide to end this session now, what would you say that you learned from this engagement? What will you tell your friend? What will you tell your associate at work or your friend in school that stood out for you so far? I want to see and read from you in the chat. While just brings us up, let's look at the importance of the theory of change. Why is this important? Why should we consider uh, TOC, even as we work in our various CBOs and NGOs, as the case may be? Number one is clarity of purpose. So it keeps the organization or the individual focused on its mission. This is what I have earmarked to do. This is what I've elected to do. This is what I've decided to do. This is the problem that I have decided to solve, right? And I'm going to do it head on. I'm not distracted by my friend who is trying to create some form of food security. Oh, because I heard that there's funding in agricultural space, I'm running now. Like, oh my God, I need to create something in the agricultural space so I can also get a piece of the cake. Or what is trending right now is artificial intelligence. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Guys, we need to build some bots, some robots. We need to create AI computing and all that, right? So you know why you are being tossed to and fro? It's because you have a guiding principle. It's because your intervention lacked the clarity. So that is why the theory of change is very important because it helps you to remain stable. It helps you to stay the course. It helps you to stay, focused on whatever it is that you've elected to do. Number two is strategic program design. All right. So activities are intentional and not random. I've said it up in the show that when I was explaining clarity of purpose, that because you hear that there's a lot of funding in the agro space or in the AI space, a lot of people, startup founders are getting grants for their AI companies, and then you say, you know what? Let me pause this thing that I'm doing. This women menstrual hygiene, whatever it is, and let me focus on AI because I hear there's a lot of money. Listen, guys, this will help you, all right? This will help you to be intentional. The theory of change will help you to be intentional, and then your activities will not be random. Today, you're not, creating intervention strategies to speak to women's health. Tomorrow you change and then you are into sporting activities. The next day we'll see you in journalism. You just here and there, no focus, nothing, no thematic area. You do not have a specific area of jurisdiction. That's because you lack the theory of change framework. But with this, it's going to help you a lot in designing your programs. Your programs will speak to your mission. Your program will speak to your vision. All right. Number three, accountability to donors and communities. So donors, partners, basically how change happens. People who believe in you, supporters, partners, donors, friends, family, relatives, just anyone who believes in your mission and your vision possibly must have given you some resources, whether it's financial or material or otherwise, will see your trajectory. They will see where you're going and they see the impact that you're creating, not just in 1 week, but you've sustained that impact for a good number of years. They see these things and they're like, wow, this is amazing. All right. You know why? Because you need to report. You need to give feedback to the organization on how I was able to utilize the fund given to me to be able to create this change. This was what we were able to do. This is a number of people that we were able to help. You are so accountable because you're working with a framework. All right. And then, of course, the next one is learning and adaptation. It helps organization to test assumptions and to improve. We live in a VUCA world, VUCA, VUCA. We live in a VUCA world. What does this mean? It means that we live in a world that is volatile. That is the V. Volatile. Volatility has to do with the rapid change that occurs within a system. Guys, think about it. 20 years ago, we couldn't have had this meeting over Zoom, and I'm speaking to you in real time from Abuja, Nigeria, and you're joining me from Zimbabwe, you're joining me from Kenya, you're joining me from Sokoto, from Jos, and we're connecting in real time. 20 years ago, I mean, we couldn't have thought that something like this would be a reality today. That is how fast the world is changing. I can tell you this, that in 10 years' time or less, physical gathering, human gathering will be so expensive. To have people in a room, you need to pay a lot. Yeah, we need to pay a lot because of their speed in technological advancement. So a lot of people are going to be in their houses with their Oculus glasses, and they're in the university, they are learning, they're in a conference, but they are in their homes. That is where the world is going. That's how volatile the world. Then the U is uncertainty. We live in a world of uncertainty. We don't even know what next will happen. We don't have an idea. Just like in 2020, we didn't have an idea of what will hit the world. COVID came and it destabilized and changed the way we lived our lives. So the world is uncertain. And then the C there is complexity. Yeah, the world is complex. There's certain things that you may not even interpret, you may not understand, but it's real. And then A is ambiguous. Things are unclear, things are vague. You need to look deeply to be able to, have a grasp of what that concept is truly about. So we live in a VUCA world. The world will keep evolving, systems will keep changing, methods will keep changing, the way we do things will keep changing. So how does this relate to the topic that we're talking about? When you have a framework, regardless of how the world is changing, your framework will definitely help you to adapt to the current trend, the current reality of your organization or your industry or your community. And then it will help you to adapt, okay? To definitely help you to adapt. The last but not the least is stronger monitoring and evaluation. So yeah, indicators are provided so that you can measure your progress. TOC is important because, of course, it helps you to measure your impact, it helps you to measure your input, it helps you to measure just about everything. What you cannot measure, you will not be able to manage, right? When you have a theory of change guiding your intervention, then it makes it very easy to be able to say in 2025, we were able to reach out to 10,000 women, girls in XYZ community in XYZ place. In the month of May, in the month of August, in the month of September, we were able to organize XYZ number of trainings, and we had in participation XYZ number of people, as the case may be, because you have a framework that you're working with. Without that framework, you wouldn't know what input is about, what output is about, what impact is about, what outcome is about. But your framework just gives you that understanding. And so when you're designing a program, you're designing it intentional. Does this make sense? You're designing intentionally, okay, so you can measure progress. All right, so guys, so far, let me know what you feel about our conversation. Is it useful? Next slide, to see what we have. But I want to read from you. All right. So far, so good. How has this session been for you? What are you learning? What are you taking away? I saw a few comments before. Amazing comment. A lot of comment. Somebody talked about the education and all that. Beautiful. I'd like to read from you. Okay. I'd like to read from you again. Maybe what, two or three people. So far, so good. Tell me how it has been. Are you soaking it all in, or am I just speaking English language? I want to be sure that we are getting value from the conversation. Okay, so I'll just wait to read one or two comments and then we'll take it away because we need to stay within the ambit of time. Joyce, help me. Daniel, it has been very insightful. Thank you very much, Daniel. Okay, I want one more who will be generous to share. So far so good. How has it been? I just read from Daniel that it's been beautiful and insightful. I like that. Insightful. Okay, so let me know. Precious. Okay. Biko. Biko is saying very educative, eye-opening. Susan, thank you, thank you all for following. All right, let's continue. The core elements of TOC. I'll just run through this and then we'll, I'll keep rolling. Number one is problem statements. Okay, what issues or issue are we addressing? What issue are we addressing? So when you are designing your program, it's important to define the statement of the problem. Okay, define the statement of the problem. Define it. Uh, I'll give you a typical example. So let's assume that my intervention is energizing education. My intervention is energizing education or re-energizing education, reinvigorating education, all right, for want of a better word, reinvigorating education. And that's the title of my program. Now I need to define the problem. So what's the problem? Then this is where you define the problem. And in defining your problem, you want to be able to impute certain data from reputable organizations to show the gaps that exist. Because your funders or your partners or anybody at all that you want to be a part of your intervention would want to know, why exactly are you doing what you're doing? And why do you want us to be a part of what you're doing? So the problem statements will help us to know that what you're doing is important and what you're doing is needed. For example, according to the UN report of 2022, I'm just quoting, right? According to the UN report of 2022, 10.5 million children are out of school in Nigeria, making it the country with the highest number of school children. Full stop. And then you continue to say that according to the UN Charter on the Rights of Children, education is supposed to be a right and not an obligation. So if these children are out of school, it means they will not be equipped, it means they will not be developed to be able to carry on responsibilities for nation building. They will rather become nuisance to the community. They will, begin to exhibit juvenile delinquencies and be part of social vices and all of that. Do you understand? I'm just trying to give you an idea of what a problem statement is like. So you've been able to create a loophole and then you justify your intervention. You justify your intervention and then you close. So an important element of TOC, problem statement. Then the next is your vision and your goal. So what is your long-term change? At the end of the day, what do you want to see in that system that you're going in to correct? What Remember, the vision is more like a destination, but you need goals that will help you to get to that destination. So goals are like the vehicles that you need to arrive at destination. If my destination is Kenya, for example, and I'm in Nigeria at the moment. What do I need to do to get to Kenya? All I need to do is to book my flight to Kenya. I'll go through the Kenya Airways. So I'm going to go to the airport. So first of all, I've been able to book my flight. I've gotten my ticket. That's goal number one. Goal number two, I need to get to the airport. Goal number three, I need to get my boarding pass. Goal number four, I need to sit in the waiting lounge. Goal number five, I need to step into the plane and sit and wait for the journey to commence. So all of those steps are taking you gradually to your destination. So your vision is like your destination. However, your goals are the vehicles, the little steps you need to take to be able to arrive at your destination. All right, let me use this problem that I create, the lack of access to quality education, as a problem. Now, what is my vision for creating my intervention, reinvigorating education, every Nigerian child, for example? What is my vision for this? My long term vision is to see every child in school. That's my long term vision. But we have 10.5 million out of school. Does it sound like I'll be able to achieve in 2 months? The answer is no. But we have goals, we have objectives, we have aims, we have little steps we need to take to be able to arrive at that vision of being able to see every child in school. So what do I need to start doing leads to at least what are the little steps that I need to start taking? First of all, I need to start sensitizing the population, the masses on the importance of education. I need to say that education is the passport you need to succeed. When I talk about success, not just in cash, succeed in character, succeed in career, succeed in life generally. Education gives you an open mind to think objectively. Education helps you to develop your talents and your skills to be able to solve problems. I'll start sensitizing my community on why they need to go to school, whether it's the boy child or the girl child. One step achieved. Then what is the next step? Then you begin to set those little goals that will help you to arrive at your bigger vision. Now, what may help you to arrive at your bigger vision is maybe collaboration and partnership with the government, because these things will definitely have to do with policy at the end of the day. A policy needs to be created that mandates every child to go to school. When the government, through the act of parliament, institutes that every child needs to be in school, and then the law enforcement agency carries out that um, decree or carries out that law, you see that the intervention will be very easy. So we call it the top to bottom approach. Top to bottom approach. Top government, bottom the people. But most of the time, what we do, like what we're even encouraging in this class, is the bottom to top approach. So we're not going to fold our hands and wait for the government to come and help us solve our problems. We're not going to sit to complain, oh my God, there's no access to water, there's no school, there's no this, there's no that. And I believe that's why we're being trained as leaders, because leaders set the pace, because leaders think of solutions to problems. Leaders are not part of the bandwagon that complain morning till night. Those who complain, I mean, see, you can complain all day, you can complain all year, and nothing will happen. No change will happen. But if you step into the waters, if you step into the ring and say, you know what, not going to, just like John F. Kennedy said, do not think what your country will do for you. Think what you can do for your country. And then you begin to think, how can I solve my country's problems? How can I solve my community's problem? What intervention can I bring to, I'm going to share the stories of great leaders as we move ahead, who were able to take up the responsibility to solve problems. Okay, so I've spent time in explaining vision and goal. And then number three is pathway. What are the steps and inventions, you know, that will lead us to that our destinations. Okay. Intervention strategies. Do we need campaigns? Do we need coaching? Do we need mentoring? Do we need collaboration? Do we need, what are different strategies that we need to employ to be able to get. Now, assumptions. Assumptions are very important. Assumptions simply means what must hold true. An example of an assumption is at the end of this training, participants will be able to understand how to use the theory of change in executing. Wow. I just looked at the time. The time says we just have 10 minutes, guys. 10 minutes. Woo! Okay, so let's see how much we can cover in 10 minutes. So, um, assumptions are very important because I was saying before I saw the timepiece, at the end of this training, participants should be able to learn how to use the TOC. That's an assumption. I'm not sure if everybody's going to learn that, but assumption is very important even in setting your goals. This is what you're expecting as an outcome. Stakeholders who contribute or benefit, who are the people who are going to contribute to this, who are target audience, who are the people that we come in to support, of course, and then number five or number six, indicators of success. How will we measure progress? What will be our objective mode of verification? What will be our objective mode of verification, especially for those of us who render services. Also, we don't sell physical products. If I give you a pen, the pen is with you, and if I tell anybody that I sold this pen to this person, they can believe that because the pen is in your hands. But we are rendering service, for example, like we're training people how to speak, we're training you to develop your character. What will be the evidence that you actually pass through this system to learn? Now, symposium conversation. But I'm going to help you this evening. That's why it's important to be able to have objective, verifiable mode of objective, verifiable indicators to be able to see, okay, before this person came, so there's something called baseline questions. Baseline questions. You administer these questions before your intervention. How long do you read in a day? How long do you read in a week or a month? And then they tell you after your intervention, you now give them another questionnaire. Say after 3 months or 6 months, they now answer, okay, I was reading 1 hour a week, but after your intervention, I'm now reading 3 hours a week, 6 hours a week, as the case may be. That is what is called objective verifiable indicator. And this is very important to be able to track your level of progress. All right, let's move to the next slide. As we begin to bring our conversation to a close. Okay, no, I've talked about I used lack of access to education to be able to explain this, but because this is on our screen, let's talk about youth and employment as one of the problems, right? The problem is high unemployment rate amongst youth. The vision is achieve sustainable livelihood for youth. The pathways of change is to provide training and mentorship. Okay. The assumption is that when we have administered training and given opportunities, we will have jobs and employment. So what is the indicator? We have like maybe 10% of youth employed after 12 to 24 months, as the case may be. So this just provides you a clear example of what we talked about in the previous slide. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Uh, okay, so is this the next slide? Theory. Okay, yeah, let's go. Fantastic. Theory of change as a living document. So this is not fixed. It evolves. Like I said, we live in a VUCA world. So you have to adapt to either political, social, or economic change. And of course, it strengthens community ownership when communities co-create it and encourages learning as organizations grow. I talked about one of the elements of community development is to work with, not work for. Work with the community members, not work for them. If you work for them, you're going to be left high and dry. If you work with them, they will protect whatever it is that you've built If it's pipe-borne water, they'll protect it because they worked with you to be able to achieve that. All right. So uh okay, so this is like a metaphor using a tree. The assumptions that we're talking about, the roots of a tree, the trunk, the activities, the branches, the outcomes, and the impact of our work is simply the fruit at the end of the day. All right, let's move forward to the next slide. These are examples of change makers, global change makers who were able to start on their own, to be able to create change in their various communities. And I'm racing against time right now. The first on my list is Malala. I'll not be able to talk about every one of them, but in particular about Malala Yousafzai, the founder of the Malala Fund. Now, Malala was 12 when she started advocating for girls in Pakistan, speaking on their behalf and saying girls should go to school because in our community, it is believed that girls are to be seen and not heard. And in my country, at one point in time, a prominent leader said that women belong to the kitchen and the other room. I don't know what room that is, but I also believe that they can belong every other place and in the boardroom. I believe that they can be CEOs. I believe that they can be investment bankers. I believe they can be engineers, doctors, pilots. I believe that they can be anything when the right opportunity is given to them. So this was the passion of Malala, and it attracted the attention of the enemies until she was shot in the head. Long story short, she was flown to America and got surgery and became the very first winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. Youngest to have ever won it, and today Malala is funding initiatives that are encouraging access to quality education. The problem. Let's move on to the next slide. I know that my 10 minutes is almost up, but we need to look at this. Number one, if you want to be able to apply the theory of change in whatever it is that you're doing or what you're aspiring to do, number one, you need to start small, start local. Okay. I know that we want to go global, but you need to start local to be seen. So start small, but don't stay small. Start small, think big, start local, think global. Pick one problem, pick something that you're passionate about. And in my case, I was passionate about youth development 11 years ago. I was passionate about youth development because in my community, there was nothing like that. There was no encouragement from the adults. Okay. So I said, no, I'm going to send the ladder down for young people to be able to learn about themselves, about their skills and how they can improve. And then I started from a small community in Jos. My friend in the room, you're from Jos. I started from Jos North local government area of Plateau State, Nigeria, to intervene. I went from school to school. I remember one morning I woke up and said, I want to touch 1,000 students. 1,000 students. I didn't know how I was going to do that. But at the end of the day, I was able to reach out to 2,000 students. Start with something. And today, I've been able to evolve. I've been able to move from one level to another, as the case may be. Number two, clarify the vision, define the desired future. I've talked about this, so I'm not going to harp on it. Okay, clarify your vision. What is it that you want at the end of the day? Because vision is who you are based on what you can see. What you see defines who you are. What you see defines your association. What you see defines the kind of conversation you're going to be having. Number three, map the pathways. Okay, outline practical actions that you're going to begin to take to be able to solve the problem. Number four, name the assumptions. What conditions must hold? All right. For me, the assumptions that I named in my own case is that I want to see young people live their their lives to the fullest. I want to be able to see young people achieve their God-given potentials, their God-given talents, be able to maximize it to solve problems, not just for themselves, but for the entire community and the world at large. Number five, define the indicators. Choose measurable markers that will show that actually you are carrying out something very impactful. Number six, test, learn, adapt, and adjust as you go. Remember that we live in the VUCA world, and I said that very soon human presence is going to be expensive. It's going to take a lot to gather everybody in one place because of the advancement of technology. Today we are using Zoom. Tomorrow we might be using something else. Tomorrow people are going to be buying lands on space. Okay, people are going to be buying lands, in Jupiter. That's how the world evolving and advancing. So look at the things you're doing. Is it going to stand the test of time? How are you using artificial intelligence to make your work easy? These are the evolutions that we are talking about. So as you grow, work, you are also evolving. Conclusively, as we bring this presentation to a close, the theory of change helps CBOs, community-based organizations, and NGOs, non-governmental organizations, avoid activity traps and instead focus on real transformation. It gives direction, sharpens accountability, and ensures impact that communities can test. The guiding question is simple. Are we doing things or are we creating lasting change? Remember that speed does not equate progress. That you are racing so fast doesn't mean that you're being productive. You can be racing so fast on the wrong lane. So you don't want to exercise such energy on the wrong thing or on the wrong lane. You want to be able to do things correctly and in a way that is going to create lasting change. Ladies and gentlemen, before I drop the mic and hand over to Joyce, I would like to say something very important to every one of us, every change maker listening to me this evening. You know, I've often shared with leaders, and what I learned from a gentleman called D.K. Chukwumerije in his poem titled "The Revolution Has No Tribe." The revolution has no tribe. In that poem, he said something very interesting and critical. He said, do not say I am an Iroquois when the forest is burning. Do not say I'm an Obeche when the forest is burning. He said that our differences will not prevent us from perishing. So when the drum sounds simply means the problems in your communities and the challenges around you. When the drum sounds, let every one of us answer. Okay? Thank you very much for giving me your ear time. I wish you the very best as you go on to implement change in your various communities, in your organizations, amongst your friends, and anybody that you truly want to leave a positive mark on. Thank you very much, Joyce. I'm sorry. I know I've overshot my time. Please
No, not
forgive
at all.
me. So
Not at all.
thank you, everyone. Thank you.
I'm
I
really
appreciate you all,
impressed.
and I'll be in the background.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching Nigerian movies and listening to those quotes on TV. But now I'm listening to them live. It really is in your culture. I have really enjoyed this session, the guiding theory of change. I've personally been struggling with understanding what this thing is. It looks like a very big elephant, but you've broken it down to a layman, and I've really understood it quite well. And quite interestingly, during this week, we've had choosing a business model and designing a mission statement, and it goes in line with creating a theory of change. And it's funny how it's interesting how some of the examples you've given, the example of an Uber, the example of these companies, other presenters also gave the same examples. I wonder if you guys were talking at some point, but it really aligned with other presenters from the previous webinars. And on that note, we please drop in your questions in the chat box, and Val will be happy to take them. I have one question for you, Val. During the presentation, I had you speaking about theory of change, and then at some point it aligned with the goals and objectives of an organization. Maybe what's the difference or what are the similarities between the theory of change and the goals and objectives of an organization?
Thank you very much, Joyce. That's a beautiful question. So, first of all, the theory of change is a framework, all right? It's a template. It's a template. Like I said, it's like a skeleton in our bodies, and this body's flesh is resting on that framework, and that's why we can stand straight, we can bend, and can do everything. Now, within the theory of change, we have goals and objectives. All right. Just as we have the eye sockets, the nostrils, the teeth, and everything. So within the theory of change, we have goals, we have objectives. Let me even simplify this. Thank you for even asking this question. So we have vision. And I said that vision is like the destination, it's something that is way ahead. All right. The goals are the vehicles that we're going to step in to get to that destination. Now, the objectives are the mini, 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 mini goals that we need to carry out to be able to achieve the overall goal and then the overall vision. So, if my goal is to read one chapter of a book today, that's my goal for today, all right? Is to read one chapter of a book. My objectives will now be to read at least two chapters in 2 hours. You see, I've broken it down to objectives, right? Yeah, to be able to read two chapters within 2 hours. Then I continue like that. At the end of the day, I'll read one chapter in a day. And then my vision might be to become an eloquent speaker. That's the vision. But now the goal is to be able to read at least one chapter a day. And then I've broken those goals into objectives to read at least 2 pages, 3 pages within 2 hours. On and on and on and on like that. Your objectives, your aims, your goals is simply to help you to achieve the overall vision of the organization, whatever it is that you're working. It makes it very simple and
It's
measurable as
very
well.
simple, very relatable, very understandable. Thank you so much for that. To the scholars, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat box. I'm sure Mr. Val has made it very simple for us to understand throughout all these sessions. I think this is the best session I've had this week, and I've really enjoyed. So, if we do not have any other question, maybe we can wrap it up here. I'll give you maybe a minute to just give a vote of thanks and then wrap up the session.
Oh, well, thank you again, Joyce. Thank you. So, my vote of thanks would be to the Wells Mountain Initiative, first of all, for an organization such as this. I love the mission. And then to the team right here, to Success, to Joyce, to Josiah, and every other person, that made this seamless and smooth. For me, I'm grateful. Thank you. And then, of course, to our MVPs, the most important people in the house, the scholars. Without you, we would just be here, possibly chatting and catching up. But you came here, and then we just had to have this conversation. I want to say a very big thank you to all of you. And I wish you success in everything you do. We want to be able in future webinars use your organizations to give examples so that others can learn. So that will be it from me, and all the best, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okafor. And I'm reading out the comments from the attendees, and they've really enjoyed this session. They're thanking you for the wonderful session. And I'd also like to give our sincere gratitude to you for accepting this invitation and preparing a very awesome presentation to us. We really appreciate your sacrifice and your input in our lives and also in our organization. We believe that the knowledge you've learned today will definitely go a long way. Thank you so much, Mr. Okafo, and to the students and the scholars. We'd like
Thank
to
you.
appreciate you for taking your time to attend this webinar. Without you, me and Mr. Okafor will just be looking at each other. But you have made it lively. You have you have been on point. Thank you so much, scholars, for being here. And with that note, I'd like to end the webinar and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much. Bye.